Hello people, bit of a problem. Coming home from work yesterday and the tone on the exhaust changed, blowing a little bit. Thought I lost another nut off the old downpipe. But now I got home from work and I checked it and I took the bracket at the back was separated from the actual silencer. So I took it off tonight and try and show you the offending item. Sounds like it's fell apart in there, to be fair. That one. I don't know how I'm going to do this brutally. Can you see that there? Those two shiny lines are actually the bracket, this bracket that screws to the main hanger. So I took that off, no problem, I'll get it welded. But as a result of that bracket going, the silencer's dropped, putting pressure on the front. And the other issue we have now got, it's actually split the join at the front here. I don't know if you can see that there. See that big crack? And it's also like an airline crack just there. So I'll get that welded up. Too tight to buy new, to be fair. Plus the warranty's out and it's, you know, any excuse. Now, worryingly, when I took it off, I found another crack. I'll see if I can show you that one without messing on my camera too much. My old torch on. I'm not sure if you're going to see this. But just there, can you see the paint peeling and a crack? Now, there it is there. So, now I've had 3 people ask me if I'd recommend a Lexmoto scooter. So, now don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying mine. But no, I wouldn't recommend one unless you know how to use a spanner. My experience with the dealer was the first service, 2 nuts missing, no problem. No, sorry, 1 nut was missing off the mudguard. 1 underneath was missing that I didn't know at the time. I pointed that out up to the dealer on my first service. Now, what I expected to happen was him to replace the nut and put it on my bill as, you know, 60p or whatever. But I came out of there and checked. No, he hadn't replaced the nuts. But I got home and I found two more nuts, two bolts missing from underneath, which I replaced myself. I've replaced quite a few bolts that keep falling off. I've used nylock washers, locking washers, and some blue thread lock, and I'm still finding the odd one falling off. Now this bike has done, can you see that? That's 5,046 miles in just under 4 months. Yeah, it's going some, but that's why I bought it. Now, one guy, Mark Wilson on Facebook, when I put them pictures up, told me to stop crying and pay and fix it. Stop blaming Lexmoto. Well, you know, I ain't crying. I knew what I was buying, and I knew that I was going to look after it. But I didn't know it was going to fall apart the way it has. And that's worrying, because I service this bike every 500 miles because I know it's getting used. But what's broke out to me isn't a serviceable item. To me it's like metal fatigue. Per welding. Why that crack is appearing on that main hanger. So would I recommend a Lexmoto? Well, to the 3 people that I've spoke to, I'm sorry, I'll say no now. Don't do it. Unless you are going to spend a lot of your own time with the spanners out. Then fine. But be prepared to replace the little bits that break and fall off. But on a more worrying note, there's a lot of kids out there driving around on these Lexmotos, and this is what worries me, that they just ride them, and if it goes in for a service and little nuts and bolts ain't replaced, well, that could become a hazard. So as a parent, if you're trying to help your kids by getting them a little 125 or a little 50cc scooter, worryingly, they could be death traps. Because nobody listens. It's out of warranty because I've done too many miles. 4 months, it's out of warranty. I'm not crying about it. I knew I blew the warranty off when the day I picked it up. I knew that was going to happen. You read your service manual, and everything has got, depends how it's ridden, but everything can wear out within 500 kilometres. That's about 340 miles. You read about your brake pads, your brake discs, your drive belts, your variator rollers. They're all classed as consumables, but they could wear out after 500 kilometres. So I think, would I recommend the Lexmoto to anybody? No. Think about it. I mean, all manufacturers can have the odd problem, but I don't think you get these problems with Hondas. I got 3 of them out. So that's why I ain't crying, Mark Wilson, because this was just a little project for me, really. I can just jump on one of the other bikes or the car. But if this is your only transport, it could let you down big time. And I think the way that crack has appeared on the main housing, I'll show it again down there, a long shot, excuse my hand. This bracket is actually connected to the engine as part of the engine mounting,
the suspension and the back wheel. So if that was to go all the way down there,
dread to think what would happen really. Especially if you're tootling along 50 mile an hour on a dual carriageway and the back wheel drops off. So I do think that instead of blowing off customers because they've done too many miles at 5,000 miles, they need to be looking at the design of their bikes or the quality of the materials they use. Because if you think you're buying a scooter for your kids, the service schedule, I think I am on now, coming up to my 2-year service. By the time you've added on all the costs of your dealer services, to get your stamp and your spare parts, you might as well have bought something like a Honda Forza or a PCX little scooter. That's if you want to twist and go. So, I think that's a bit of a hazard really, looking at the way this one's falling apart, because I'm sure that would be an MOT failure. It's a structural bracket. I could be wrong. Could be wrong. Any MOT guys out there want to chip in? So no, I'm not lying crying, Mr. Wilson, but you really need to look at the Chinese scooters. Would I recommend one to anybody now? No. Not unless you're a serious spanner guy and you don't mind fettling and messing, because what I've just found behind that exhaust on that bracket is dangerous. And I think if you out there are buying them for your kids and you're just trusting in them, then I think you're making a mistake. I also think that more people need to speak up, instead of just ignoring the fact that bolts and nuts are falling off and we just accept it and say, well, that's life. I don't think it is. They do need to take more care in what they're doing. They have a responsibility to the customers. Dread to think if anyone gets killed. I would hate to think that bracket is going to snap. And 5,000 miles, and all of that has been on the M5. That's a rough road, isn't it, the M5? You know, it's not even been driven around the local roads where it's been riddled with potholes. It's just been used on the M5. So I think if you've got one of those Lexmotos, you seriously need to give it a going over at least every week, and I mean a proper going over. There's no point buying a bike with a warranty, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 or 4 years, and they're expecting you to shell out every 300 mile to maintain that warranty, because surely you buy these machines to ride. I haven't bought this to sit in my living room, you know. I bought it to use, and I blew the warranty off because I knew I'd be doing all the work myself, the service work, but I didn't expect structural failures. So I have to question the integrity of the materials they're using. So there you go. I suppose it's a good old case of buyer beware. But those people that I said, yeah, it's a decent little machine, I have to take that back and say, unless you're prepared to seriously do your own spanner work and accept these failures, then no, I wouldn't recommend one. I'll let you know how it goes. This will be welded up and new bracket back on the road. Thank you very much.